Real baseball, baby. It doesn't even matter that our intro song isn't played in full. Who cares? I've got my guys here, Drew Creasman, Patrick Lyons, to talk about real baseball. Just like Pinocchio became a real live boy, we have true, actual baseball pitchers we've heard before. If I say that's a dangerous lineup, that's not based off of mykbostats.com that I checked out 2 seconds before coming on air. It's because I actually might be able to tell you 5-6 guys in that lineup today. And it's opening day. We've already talked about a bunch of futures and stuff. I want to see if you've got more. I know we've emptied the clip. I want to see if you filled the clip back in and it's time to re-empty it. And I just want to talk about these great games that we have today with the first two. Weird to have the Giants in that mix, but that's okay. We've got 3 good teams and 1 terrible team, and then the beauty that will be Friday with the Rockies and everyone else getting to play. So thank you, fellas, for being here. I know RK's trying to close out these last 3 holes. We had a tie on the front 9, and the back 9 is being decided right now. So our thoughts are with him. That's right. Very intense. Very intense. We're trying to see if they can get those old guys from altitude who've got a lot more experience on them. So anyways, while our thoughts are with them, my talking is here with you and the baseball. So, and Rudo update tied on the 17th green. Beautiful. They were down 1 shot, so we've now tied it up. So big time stuff.
And Andre, on behalf of the real boys, Drew and myself, as we are known, we are so glad to have Geppetto lead us through today's episode of DNVR Bets. You are, of Geppetto. The real boys are here, and we're gonna try to win you some cash so that this national holiday.
Oh man!
Oh no, we lose him in the middle of that. It was so good.
Came in hot with the Geppetto analogy. I mean, what is better than that? Gosh, I can't even imagine what was coming next. But I love that. I love the real boys as your guys' new nickname.
Yeah, I don't know. I could be sold, but we'll see what happens.
Can you? We gave this out last night, RK and I, but it's time to save anyone some last second money. Scherzer, Garrett Cole in this first game here, Yankees Nationals. We like the under 7.5. Yeah. Of course, not having Juan Soto, one of the best bats in this game, certainly makes that an even better bet.
Sure.
And I kind of like
pitchers are really good, not
right. Yeah, exactly. And I really like the value of taking the Nationals, who you get at a plus 150 here. I don't think the Nats will have necessarily a great season. We've talked about that, but I think in this opening day with Scherzer on the mound, you always like your chances.
Yeah, you've always got to like any shot. It's interesting because it's pretty common for teams to win the World Series or have their best season and then show up that next day and lay a big fat egg on day one, because there's also been extra celebrations. They've been hanging banners. They've been doing though there's going to be a lot less of that this year. There's not going to be all that bump and circumstance. And as you mentioned, really the biggest thing is when Max Scherzer's on the hill, like there's only so much messing around your team is allowed to do. I don't think it's going to be a good year for the Nationals overall, but you always go with Max Scherzer.
Yeah, even against Garrett Cole, you never know. First game as a Yankee, I'll be interested to see how locked in he is. But okay, good. I'm glad that
Garrett Cole has a half of season of being able to claim to be one of the top 2 pitchers in baseball, and Max Scherzer has like 8 years of that.
Yeah, so. and being a dog, like not taking days off, just coming after you, and best of luck to you. I love that aggressive style he has too. Yeah. I love betting on that because I'd much rather the aggressor who's coming after you than the guy who's trying to, get a little fancy with it. Then Giants, Dodgers, obviously it's Kershaw on the mound. Dodgers are massive favorites. Do we like the Dodgers enough to win by, say, 2 runs or more here over the 1.5?
They're so much better than the Giants. Who do the Giants even have on the mound? Who's their number 1 pitcher? Like that, I don't know.
Johnny Cueto.
Johnny Cueto, who's pitched maybe 12 games in the last 2 years combined. Johnny Cueto used to be a dude, used to be a guy, and he's still got some stuff in there. But the Dodgers have just an absolutely insane lineup. And Kershaw's not what he once was either.
Right.
But the Dodgers are so much better than the Giants that it's tough to know on day one what this season's going to be
Totally.
like. But
Yes.
talent wise, in any other year, that's a bet I would take with no hesitation. A year like this, I'm like, well,
Yeah.
seems likely. Maybe don't go hard. Maybe not a high dollar amount.
There you go. There you go. And as our producer here points out, we don't like the Dodgers here. Here to that. Now, the Giants under 3.5 runs, could they lay that type of an egg?
I mean, in
Why is
general,
Walker Buehler not out here, Drew, first off?
there's a weird ceremonial thing. I guess you can do stuff like this when you just have dudes, but you can go either way. But I'm not 100% sure. I mean, Walker Bueller's definitely the guy they'd be handing the ball to in a winner take all, like a game 163, like they did
Right.
against the Rockies just a couple years ago. And so, but obviously Kershaw has such a long resume and history of success that you can go that way. I do think offenses are going to be behind pitchers in general.
Mhm.
It's a great pitcher. It's a weak lineup.
Yeah.
All the elements are there for it. The only thing we don't know is like how are individuals going to respond to there being no fans there.
Yeah.
All the weirdness. That's the only thing that gives me hesitation. Again, any other year, Kershaw's going up against the Giants, and you said 3.5.
Yeah.
Giants ain't scoring no 4 runs on the Dodgers. Not in a normal year. No. Yeah. No. I still don't think I would be pretty surprised if they put up a 4 spot.
Love it. Love it. You almost did your Carlos Gonzalez voice. The Giants? Giants, man?
The Giants.
Oh, beautiful. Now, we did have one listener point out that while we, like in that first matchup, we like the under because of the pitching matchup, that it might be scoring is up because every pitcher will be forced to face a 3-batter minimum.
Right. Right. And, I think that'll start to take its toll once we get into the season a little bit. I think early on that's going to have to be to some degree by design. You're not going to see pitchers go. I mean, you rarely see guys throwing 100 pitches anymore in baseball these days anyway, but even 90 early on, you're going to see a lot more even good pitchers who are pitching well coming out after 5, maybe 6 innings. And it's sort of being built in. Teams have kind of prepared for this. And so they've got guys around to pitch complete innings or even multiple innings. With the expanded rosters, there's just more guys to go to. So I do think once the rosters shrink and guys are starting to wear and tear in the middle of the season, we're going to start to see those run totals climb and climb and climb. At the beginning, where everybody's fresh, and basically what you're getting is a fresh new arm after the 5th inning every single time out. And once that guy has gone 3, and there are weird workarounds too. Like if you just come in to face the last guy of an inning, then you don't have to come out the next inning, stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Right.
That managers can just like, hey, if this guy doesn't have it today, I get him out of there as soon as possible. I get creative about it. So early on, I do think pitching is going to have the advantage.
Okay. I like that. And that kind of plays into this. And we're going to have all these aces who I think are really juiced up. Like, the next game, Mets Braves, the first game we talk about from the Friday slate, Mike Soroka against Jacob deGrom. Obviously, with deGrom on the mound, you have the Mets as the slight favorites at -143. That seems wise. And the under 7 seems like a nice hedge as well here.
Yeah, I like the under 7 more than I ever liked the Mets to win a baseball game. But I'll tell you that much right now. Jacob deGrom's a phenomenal pitcher, but they have proven almost an impressive ability to lose games in which he pitches 7 innings. Now they've addressed the bullpen a little bit there, but the Mets have also gotten a lot of bad early news. It doesn't directly affect them probably in this first game, but they're going to be without some of their best next couple of starting pitchers for a while here. And so, you can see them starting to give up. Game 1, they should still be favored. I can never bet on the Mets to win, but the under should be good. Yeah, both those pitchers are really good, and those offenses are not.
Yeah, and that's important to point out there is the Mets in Jacob deGrom's Cy Young season were just, I mean, statistical marvels in their ability to lose games when their
Yeah.
ace pitcher was out on the mound.
Yeah, a guy had an
truly
ERA of a
impressive.
$1.70 and won
Right.
like 10 baseball games.
Poor guy, truly. And yet they're somehow they're a bit of a betting darling, the Mets. I mean, obviously it's the New York market, but that the Pete Alonso and DeGrom and some of that star power has teams
Yeah,
a lot more excited about them in the NL East than they probably reasonably should.
yeah.
But
Take the under on the Mets.
yeah, yes,
That's a free one for you. Just take the under. I
safe
don't know
to
what they're
bet again.
at. I don't know what
Right.
the line is. Take the under on the Mets.
Right, exactly. I'm surprised to see the Tigers as not bigger underdogs to another betting darling in the Cincinnati Reds. Now, the Reds have Sonny Gray on the mound, and yet they are only, quote unquote, minus 190 favorites against Matthew Boyd and the Tigers here. I don't know what the Tigers will be doing. I know that if you look at their farm system, there's some exciting guys that maybe get called up a little earlier and they have some fun wins here and there. But opening day against Sonny Gray, I don't know.
Yeah, the Tigers kind of have that Padres syndrome going a little bit, where they're kind of the darlings of the offseason. They've got a good farm system. They made some moves. They're like, oh, they're not content with being terrible, but like going out and
Right.
so like signing a couple of these guys. It's good and it should be applauded that teams do that, but it's not like other sports where you get one really great player and that can change the fortune of your team. But sometimes the public will tend to think so, and so
Right.
yeah, I do like some of their pitching. I do like Boyd, but and Sonny Gray isn't all that
You're
great.
right. All fair. Yeah.
Yeah. But I actually think the Reds are in a similar spot where they're a little bit overrated based on their
Yeah.
willingness to go out and make moves and kind of shake
Right.
things up and trade and sign guys, but they make a lot of lateral moves that they end up. That's right, Miguel. I don't know what to tell you, man. It's rough out there. It's been a tough go for Detroit in most of the sports.
Yeah. Yeah. No
Um,
kidding. Yeah, it's
so
funny how much baseball perception gets increased by like when you add an average everyday regular. But it's like,
right.
oh, well, they were supposed to just be rebuilding. They added one average everyday regular. They're trying. Like, wow, that's going to add like 20 wins to their season. It's like, I'm not
Right.
sure about that.
Yeah, right. Tommy Pham. No, Tommy Pham's a little bit better than that, but still, I harp on that so much because it's just the weirdest one to me.
Or Tommy Pham.
He's a solid ball player. Watch him go out and win MVP of the National League, and people will be play this back at me.
I think we can play it pretty safely that won't happen. We might be able to bet on Tommy Pham to win MVP to kind of hedge, Drew. You might be a
Yeah.
rich man while also looking stupid. Not so stupid then, huh?
I was gonna say that's a nice way to make that work out. I
Yeah,
can appreciate
exactly.
that.
Well, a pitcher you know very well starting opening day for the Toronto Blue Jays, Hyunjin Ryu against Tampa Bay Rays and Charlie Morton here.
Ooh.
The Rays being slight favorites, the over-under set at 7. Anything you like here? Anyone you're bullish about?
Another under that I like. Again, I mean, I don't know what the Blue Jays bullpen is like. The Rays bullpen is pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And so I could see if Ryu doesn't go a certain amount of distance, but Ryu was incredible last year. I think he's still in a good groove. He takes care of his body really well. He's a guy that pitches a lot of innings anyway. So I do like the under in that one with the caveat of not know, like, go out there if you can find some information on how terrible the Blue Jays bullpen is. Because neither of those offenses have a ton of firepower, and both of those pitchers are very good.
If you're talking about the over under for the Blue Jays, they don't have a home ballpark, so that is going to make any type of positive impacts both on offense as well as pitching and just general wins as far as that goes. They don't have a place to play.
Well, how are we handling this in general? Because I would agree. Now, in any other season, I think that would be a massive disadvantage.
Right.
In this season, and what are you guys doing with this, especially once you get to football? I mean, let's keep it baseball for a minute, but this is my question for you, Dre. I mean,
Yeah.
road dogs and home favorites, and I mean, if they're playing in empty stadiums, does that exist? And yeah, because I don't know, man. I don't know what kind of impact that could either really be a disadvantage for a team or it could rally them in a year like this if you don't have a home ballpark. I don't know.
Well, and what's interesting is how the sports book adjusts, because in European soccer, we have been mining road favorites who maybe aren't getting enough juice because they're on the road, but we're kind of saying, who cares? It's just an extra train ride, right? It doesn't matter. An extra plane ride, like who cares, truly? And we're going to see in baseball how much that affects. And I wonder if the Blue Jays, if this is another factor where maybe not having a home field doesn't really matter for the first week. But then once that starts to wear on you, not being able to get back home 2-3 weeks in, then they start to suffer, especially in the, I mean, I don't need to tell you, but in the toughest division, maybe in all sports, in the AL East, where it's really, really hard to survive. The attrition just gets to you over time. So that's an interesting one to point out that I think we do want to monitor over time, Patrick, on that is how are they affected by not getting that rest and trips from home and what have you. Aaron Nola's on the mound for the Phillies going against the Marlins and Sandy Alcantara. Boy, it's hard to make sense of the Marlins. Over under set in 8.5. The Phillies a healthy -205 favorite in this one. Anything you're bullish about, boys?
No, it wouldn't shock me for Alcantara and the Marlins to go out and get a Game 1 dub. They looked good the other night against Mike Foltynewicz of Atlanta, and they hit 3 consecutive home runs off of him, a guy who was an all-star starting pitcher, not but a year ago. So, they're gonna win games, regardless, because they definitely have something to prove. And in a situation talking about Toronto, there's this idea, like you said, being away from home, there's going to be a grind that a lot of these young guys haven't really gone through. Again, it's a 60-game grind, but it's still one in which they're out of it. They're getting pummeled by other AL East and NL East clubs, and how do they rebound from that? Whereas the Marlins, I don't know that you have to worry about that quite as much. And, if they have, a little bit less to play for in September, I think Derek Jeter at the top, good old Jeets, is going to say, we're not tanking. This isn't the NBA. We're not trying to get a better lottery pick. I want you guys to be as good as you can possibly be. So let's win some of these games. And it's going to be one where it'll go down to the final week and where they could quite possibly, hit that over if you're looking at those. But overall, again, opening day, I like those numbers. That would be a decent little payout.
I like that a lot. I secretly, with all the teams like the Reds maybe getting overrated, the Padres, of all the teams, and I was anti-Jeter early on for that Stanton trade as much as anyone, but I am more impressed at the direction they're moving in, especially considering some of the tough circumstances they had, of course, with the loss of their ace pitcher and the building block of that entire franchise. I like that. I like our first true upset on this opening day slate. That's beautiful.
Alcantara can sling it too. They got some good pitching.
We were talking about how the Mets will screw it all up. Wouldn't it be just classic for the Marlins to make an unexpected run and be the actual darling of the NL East?
That's the kind of thing this year, especially now with this expanded, playoffs or whatever. Like
how crazy is that? Huh?
Yeah, that's like just coming across, but. Yeah, I could totally see the Marlins making it over the Mets in a year like this, especially.
Yeah, all of a sudden, my obsession with the Rockies being better than the Padres might matter if they're the second best team in the NL West, and that's how it comes down to, huh?
Yeah.
For sure, yeah. I think it's probably the first time people would actually genuinely root for the Marlins because, they've got 2 World Series, and they started the same time at the same year as the Rockies, yet they had those 2 World Series, and they did it, by loading up on some big contracts, made some good solid trades, but then immediately it was a fire sale, and you go, well, I
Both
can never root
times.
for that franchise ever again. They get a brand new stadium with this atrocious sculpture
This is
out in left center field, which is no longer
whatever
there.
that is. Look at that
Exactly.
monstrosity.
And you go and you trade away an outfield of Yelich, Ozuna, Stanton, even D. Gordon, too, who's now more of an outfielder. But, Derek Jeter's now in charge, and you look at some of those deals and you go, hey, Sandy Alcantara, glad we've got you instead of Marcell Ozuna. Sixto Sanchez is a guy. I think he's going to make the opening day roster. He's one of the players they received for JT Realmuto. So I think they're young, exciting, and again, they got that New York swagger with Jeter as one of the owners.
I like it. I'm going to fast forward to an NL West matchup where, again, Chris Paddock on the mound, again going against Mad Bum here and the Arizona Diamondbacks, and somehow the team with Mad Bum on the mound is the underdog here. Help me make sense of this, fellas.
Yeah, this is like two of my preseason predictions coming up against each other because I think Mad Bum's lost it a little bit. There's both the actual numbers and some peripherals. Like he could bounce back absolutely, and we all know what a competitor he is. And I'm not saying he's totally lost it. I'm just saying he's not what he once was. And those are interesting guys to watch. When you're talking about bets because they've got that name, and he almost single-handedly won a World Series. And he's not that guy anymore, and I don't know how he's going to respond to all of a sudden calling a ballpark at altitude home. That's going to be very interesting to see. So I actually, as much as I harp constantly on how I don't think the Padres are all that, and about how this young pitching is overrated, I like Chris Paddock over Mad Bum in this one. I like that. I gotta take the Padres.
That's
After
how I
everything
feel.
I've said, I gotta take
That's
the
how
Padres.
I feel here. Patrick, save us, please.
Yeah, I think these are two teams that are going to frustrate Rockies fans a lot all year.
Oh no, we keep losing him.
Damn.
Younger brothers. They are the lovable younger brothers in a lot of ways to the Rockies. It's funny how some Rockies fans.
No, just brutal. Just brutal.
Yeah. Okay. All
Yeah,
right,
but
Drew. Fine.
To finish the
I
thought,
guess,
I think that Patrick was
nothing
making.
to do.
It's there. Both of those teams are going to be frustrating around all season. I don't think either of them are as good as some of the national audiences do, but I don't think they're going to be terrible by any means, which is going to make them frustrating all year. But in that particular over the course of the season, I think the Diamondbacks will be better than the Padres in that particular matchup. I like Chris Paddock to come out and try to. He's the one guy on the Padres I sort of buy into. I think he's going to be legit. The rest of them, I like Tatis too. You just can't.
Right, and he doesn't pitch. We should point out he is not starting for them. Well, one thing I know you don't like is cheating in baseball, and could local kid Marco Gonzalez, starting for the Mariners, beat those horrendous cheaters for the Astros, who sadly have Justin Verlander on the mound and are thus massive favorites? The line set at 8.5 here. Anyone feeling the dog for the local kid?
I wanted to take it. I wanted to be like, yeah, they're going to be in their heads. It's going to be, a little different. But who'd you say was pitching?
Verlander. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Way to really hold the Astros to it, MLB, and give them the tough test of the Seattle Mariners on their opening day. Boy, that's a great one. Thanks a lot.
Run the gauntlet to open
it. Yeah, geez, Louise. All right, one. Yeah, go ahead, Patrick.
No, yeah, that's one you almost want to stay away from because you could go and take the long shot and say, all right, you're gonna get a nice, decent payout for the Mariners if the Fort Collins product, as you mentioned, Marco Gonzalez, can twirl a gem against the Astros. But the odds-on favorite is Justin Verlander. If anyone's going to be ready after a 3-week spring training, it's going to be Justin Verlander. So he shouldn't have any problem, and that's not going to win you quite as much money. So that's just kind of one where it doesn't really do anything for you either way.
Right, and if you're bullish on the Astros, you could take them to win by over 1.5 runs, and you're getting a lot better value at minus 148. So if you wanted that, but I agree, there's better value to be had out here. So probably a smart stay away. Out here in the AL Central, the Twins with Jose Berrios going against the White Sox, another of these offseason darlings who are starting Lucas Giolito here. This is almost an even line with the Twins getting just slightly more value at minus 112. This is kind of the last one before I want to switch gears and get into some of the fun lines we can bet on with the Rockies on Friday.
These two teams are going to fight tooth and nail all season long. It's going to be really exciting. I think the Twins are head and shoulders above the rest of that division. Spoiler, I think they can even go to the World Series. I would have said that even in a 162-game season. Lucas Giolito is nice. Dare I say he's nice. So
Nice.
in this opening day matchup, I mean, it really could go either way. You really just want to watch these guys for the entire season. But I'm gonna have to take the Twins there to win one on the road at guaranteed rate field, because I just think that Bomba squad and everything that Josh Donaldson brings to that organization and gives them a swagger and a lot more legitimacy with all of those young guys that they have in that lineup, along with Nelson Cruz, yes. But they are just going to have that swagger. And I think we're going to see that immediately opening day. So I would take the Twinkies.
Yeah, that's one of those off-season darling teams that's graduated to legit playoff contender and now has become a sneaky World Series contender. So I like that. Minus 112, though. That's a nice one. And the over-under set at 8, which maybe with this pitching duel, you like the under. But, boy, that Twins lineup is no joke. So, before we switch gears, and we're gonna talk Rockies and see if there's any other of these bets we like. And I'm gonna give you some interesting data that the good folks at DraftKings have provided me with how the public is betting on some of these lines and futures. And surprisingly, the Rockies are in the mix more than you'd think. Shout out to our sponsor, our good friends at DraftKings Sportsbook, really the app that makes this possible, not just because they sponsor the show, but because they provide all these lines, all these great props. We talked about a great one with you guys where you bet on your team to win in one of these opening series, and then you'll get $5 for every home run. You can get that odds boosted at the sportsbook right now. My favorite one, a free money out there, is a max $25 bet you put on any 2019 All-Star to hit a home run this opening day or on Friday. So you need any 2019 All-Star to hit a home run. Think of that first game the Rockies played with Nolan Arenado, David Dahl. Both those guys went yard. That would be free money right there. And you can do that with any 2019 All-Star. So DJ LeMahieu hits a home run and it makes you sad. Then you remember, oh no, I just made $25. So I just doubled my money. So there you go. The good folks at DraftKings Sportsbook, they do everything for us. And really, if you're not on there, I frankly don't know what you're doing. So please check them out, support them, because they support us. And Rudo, give me the graphic on the screen. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code DNVR when you sign up. For a limited time, all new users can get a sign-up bonus up to $1,000. That's right. DraftKings Sportsbook has a sign-up bonus up to $1,000. Don't forget, enter code DNVR and get your sign-up bonus up to $1,000. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. Bonus comprised of a first deposit bonus and a first bet match. Each up to $500. Deposit bonus required. 25 times playthrough. Restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. Okay, boys. Beautiful. Now the Rockies. We have nothing but good lines in this. German Marquez going against Lance Lynn. The Texas Rangers, slight favorites at minus 136. Rockies at plus 120. I don't know how you guys feel about Lance Lynn. That seems like good value to me on the Rockies side, especially given how these preseason summer training matchups have gone. You can also take the Rockies over 3.5 runs at minus 141. That seems like decent value to me, given how they've been hitting the ball. You can also take the Texas Rangers at 4.5 runs over under. Colorado Rockies to score first and win. That's a bet out there. If you feel bullish about will the runs be odd or even by the end of this? If you want to bet on the amount of total runs in the first inning or the second inning, you can do all of that. We can have nothing but fun with this Rockies game. How do you guys see this matchup playing out? I can't believe it's actually here. Pinch me. I can't believe it's real.
Is it yet? It'll happen, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the Rockies in this one to do a lot of that stuff. Honestly, I think they come out focused. The hitting has been good all summer camp. It was really good in spring training. I think it's just they're locked in. Nolan's where he needs to be. I think Marquez is we've talked about, going to have a very, very big year. So, yeah, I think this has all the makings of, we've seen them playing well, of a big game, a big win on opening day for the Rockies.
Yeah, I like a W also for Colorado. Lance Lynn is pretty nice himself. Was fifth in the Cy Young last year in the American League after a strange 2018 where he bounced around between the Twins and Yankees and had an unfortunate situation with free agency when no one comes knocking at your door when you're clearly a number one, number two starter. Well, he goes out and proves that he's an ace last year with the Rangers. Rockies, again, got 2 straight wins against the Rangers at Globe Life Field. So I think they're going to keep that going, and they're just going to stay in a rhythm with all those left-handed bats at the bottom of the lineup, and really hope that kind of Ryan McMahon pulls out of this just brief little 2-game slump where he struck out, I think, 4 times between those 2 games. So I think he'll be all right. And ultimately, as long as Colorado
hit a ball 450 feet in the one at bat where he didn't strike out.
This is true.
In case you want, just for the record.
So yeah. For me, that's a slump for him. If he's only hitting,
right.
If he's only going 1 for 6, right? But I think once they get into that bullpen, the Rockies have that much better of a shot, and I think they're gonna continue to roll and definitely pick up a dub on Friday night.
Yeah, they saw a lot of pitches in those 2 games. They are they're clearly have been meetings, and these guys they're seeing pitches, and I think that was specifically built to combat the road problems they've had throughout their entire history. And we talked to Nick Groke on our podcast about that, and they've got a new pitching machine and all kinds of cool stuff they're doing for out on the road. But ultimately, that's going to also, in this season where guys aren't going as deep, and as Patrick said, that's going to get you into that bullpen a lot sooner. In both of these games, the Rockies have just seen a ton of pitches, and it's going to bode well for them.
Line set at over under set at 8.5. What are it's a nice pitching matchup, so maybe the under's juicy here, but boy, the offense has looked so good for the Rockies.
Yeah, I don't really like that one way or the other. Honestly, I would stay away from the over/under because I could see it becoming a bit of a battle between Marquez and Lynn, and the bullpen's deciding it, and it just being that one guy, and that's where Patrick and I are probably banking on that one guy who blows it being a Rangers pitcher. Oddly enough, the Rockies bullpen is better than the Rangers bullpen. But
it's kind of one of those KBO matchups where you go, look at the starting pitchers. There's no how are they going to eke out 8 runs, and then you get to the 7th inning, and you're like, okay, this team had a 7-run rally, and you're like, that just blew that one out of the water. So it very well could be that. I do think we're going to hit the under here, at least on opening day. We got a little bit of a feel. There has been a couple home runs that went out of Globe Life Field, but it is a larger stadium.
Yeah.
And I think some of what we heard from those 2 games was just the emptiness of there not being any fans, because there were so many balls that just sound like they were struck so well, and they were just these routine fly balls, and there are also balls that would have normally gone out last year. Then Rangers announcers had discussed that, like Joey Gallo, that would have been out last year at maybe 405 left center, and and it didn't quite carry in the alleys there at New Globe Life Field. So, a couple homers by the Rockies, but opening day, the pitchers are going to be a little bit more locked in. So I think we might see the under, but Drew, you're not wrong in thinking, just stay away.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. And now I have some reporting to do for you, because DraftKings tells us, how the public's been both placing money and placing percentage of bets. And when the odds opened up and, the 60-game season was announced, the top 5 has remained unchanged for how bettors have placed. Yankees at plus 400, the number 1 most bet on, with the Mets at plus 20 to 1 second, then Dodgers, then Rays, then Phillies. So we've had the same top 5 since then. But since the update in late June, now the Rockies have jumped into the top 8 as one of the most bet on teams to win the World Series. This is any team, and the Reds have also jumped up there. The Braves are in that mix. The White Sox have jumped up in that mix, and the Cubbies just barely make the top 10. But so, we were saying that we don't think the Rockies will win the World Series, but it's good value and it might lead to a good buyout. Obviously, the people, the betting public seems to be with us. That, they are being underrated. The public perception is a bit off on a team that has made the playoffs in 2 of the last 3 years, and now we'll have an even better shot at making the postseason.
I think there's 2 reasons for that. One is the most obvious. The listeners and the fan base of DNVR Bets have heard you guys loud and clear banging the drum, and they know where to make a good bet. That's the obvious one.
Of course.
The second one would be the fact that the Rockies have a lot of high-profile ball players. We're here smack dab in the middle of the country, yet if you ask fans from the coast, they can rattle off Nolan Arenado, Trevor Story, David Dahl, Charlie Blackmon. They're knowing, Ryan McMahon, they're picking him up in their fantasy leagues.
Right,
they're seeing what John Gray has been doing consistently, and they say, you know what? I don't think we need to stay away from these Rockies pitchers. So I think there's that element to it. And you got the Diamondbacks, who just recently had Goldschmidt and Greinke, A.J. Pollock. All those guys are gone. Padres are still young, but what have you done for me lately? They also have seen guys like Manny Machado and Eric Hosmer go from team leaders that hit 30 homers, 100 RBIs consistently every year, and now the cavernous Petco Park have really, kind of just reduced their numbers offensively. And the Giants are the Giants right now, for better or worse, and they're just kind of on the way out with some of their notable names. Right. So when you look at that, you go, all right, fine, the Dodgers are going to win the division, but all you got to do is get into the postseason. And if anybody has that kind of excitement, if anyone has that juice, it's going to be the Colorado Rockies, and I think it makes a lot of sense why they would have crept up into that top 10, because you want to make money. You don't want to just be right. You want to be right and increase your cash and have a higher profitability. And so the Rockies are that way to go right now.
Beautiful. Well, I've given you the data. We've gone through a ton of lines for the next 2 days. Any other bets that are out there in the MLB world that sound great to you guys before we jump off? If the answer is no, that's fine. We will send the listeners to that great podcast on DNVR Rockies. Subscribe to that feed and check that out with Ryan and I both on there talking about an hour with all the different futures lines and what have you.
Yeah, we had 3 different 100 to 1 bets that, again, if you go back and listen to our DNVR Rockies podcast, you'll hear that. But when I went back to double check to see if there was anything I missed, I actually had one that was a little bit higher than that. 125 to 1. This just struck me again, much like a Corey Kluber pick or a Dallas Keuchel pick to win the AL Cy Young, guys who've done it already and are kind of getting themselves back in form. Yeah. And Mr. Joey Votto. Now, it's been a decade since he's won an MVP. It was in 2010. But, 8 different times he's had MVP votes. He was second in MVP voting as recently as 2017. 6 times he's been in the top 10. And if you're a believer in this Reds team, they got Eugenio Suarez. He's kind of the guy now, but he's going to be protecting Joey Votto. You also have Mike Moustakas, Nicholas Castellanos. So you have a lot of names there to surround Joey Votto in. And again, if the Reds catch fire, I think Joey Votto is going to be the most logical guy that you kind of give him the credit for. And all he needs to have is that one little resurgent year. He's done it already. He's looking to kind of, calcify himself as a Hall of Fame dude. And this could be his season to do it in a short 60-game stretch. Right. So if you believe in the Reds, you say, well, after Eugenio Suarez, why not Joey Votto? It very well could be that. And again, at 125-1, that's gonna give you some serious bank and cover any wrong bets that you might have anywhere else.
Not valid.
Yeah, sure is. Okay, then let's close it out on this. Any pitcher to record 110 or more strikeouts. Because looking at the top 10, I kind of talked myself into this because the top guys are averaging they're so close to basically what we're asking is out of 12 starts, you give me, basically 10 Ks per outing, which I know is asking a lot, but those elite guys
do that.
There are 10 guys in this league that could pull that off. Am I crazy for thinking the yes is a nice bet here? I know.
Is it 100 strikeouts or 110?
110.
Because it was 100.
Yeah, when it was 100, I really liked it. 110.
Justin Verlander was the guy at 100, partially because, again, DeGrom, back injuries, so you don't know what you're going to get out of him. You want to stay away from a question mark. Max Scherzer, ho, baby. But you know what? What about the fact that every 3 innings, Max Scherzer is not going to have the opposing pitcher coming up in that batter's box. So that could reduce his numbers right there just a little bit. It could be just enough. We don't know. And again, Justin Verlander has done it in the American League, and he's hit that mark in 2 of the last 3 years. And if anyone's going to do it, and if anyone's going to be ready by opening day, it would be Justin Verlander. Anybody else, I think a lot would have to happen. It could happen. It could. But I don't know who that guy is if it's not Justin Verlander.
Okay. Love it. Thank you, fellas. I love you and appreciate this so much, and I'm so GD excited for some baseball. I know I have to say that because I'm on this podcast, but it could not be more genuine. We'll see you tomorrow at the watch party, or maybe not. But anyways, come join us at the watch party. Follow the DNVR Rockies. Baseball's back. Rejoice, people. Have some fun.
Love you,
Cheers.
Papa.